Right from the off, it's very clear that there's something a bit different about this fighter. Something a bit alien. I'm Forrester, and in this video I'll be reviewing the Star Citizen ship, the Banu Defender. With Star Citizen currently in alpha testing, the Defender is one of the flyable ships. The Defender is described as a light fighter, and is a little unusual in that it's a two-seater with parallel co-pilot setup. For those who've seen some of my other ship reviews, you'll recognise the usual format for this review. I've split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs, before finally summarising. I've included timestamps in the video description to help navigate to each part of the review, and considering that over 85% of people who watch this review aren't yet subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to be notified of future videos. Part 1. Ship Tour. Entry to the Defender is via deployable cargo ramp stairs at the front. This takes through into the main area of the ship, which is an internal vestibule. The cargo ramp does have a nice effect where the stairs flatten out as it deploys. On either side there is a bed for crew use, and there's plenty of storage for crates for delivery missions. Next to each the pilot and co-pilot seat there is also a weapon rack. On the starboard or right hand side of the ship is the co-pilot seat, and on the left or port side of the ship is the pilot seat. These are mirrored setups, but the pilot seat is the one that's used to fly the ship. Part 2. Combat Performance. So, although described as a light fighter, I see the Defender as closer to a medium in terms of combat performance. That's down to the manoeuvrability being a little slower than a dedicated light fighter, like the Gladius I recently reviewed, but coming in with a proper shield generator this time, a size 2. And that makes a big difference, as it beefs up the defensive capabilities of the Defender. In combat, the Defender is quite comfortable to tangle with enemy fighters, as well as some of the larger small ships, such as the Cutlass. The firepower is on a par with peers, and the heavier shields make for a nice contrast to the comparatively lightweight fighters. It's fairly easy to get the guns on target, and the convergence isn't difficult to get used to. I've also followed the viewer's suggestion of detailing where I've departed from the stock setup. Where the Defender by default comes with 4 gimbaled size 2 tachyon cannons, I've switched them out for fixed size 3 Mantis repeaters. You'll definitely want to switch out the stock weapons. The Mantis, for example, gives you 3 times more potential firepower. The Defender is also armed with 4 size 2 missiles, but due to an ongoing bug, they don't really work, which is a shame. That said, the firepower that 4 size 3 weapons give seems more than adequate for the sort of opponents that the Defender ought to be defending against. Part 3. Handling and Visibility. Visibility out of the cockpit is on a par with other similar sized craft. There is a clear bubble canopy overhead, which blends into the heads-up display at the base of the pilot's field of view. Situated a little further back than most fighters, the pilot also has vision over the 2 front prongs of the Defender. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a strange effect on the glass, which distorts vision a little, but generally speaking, visibility is clear. The straight line acceleration of the Defender is fantastic. The 2 main thrusters at the back can push out a lot of thrust, and that gives the Defender a powerful back end. And that holds true planetside too, meaning with clear airspace, the Defender can push some quite awesome speeds in atmosphere. The deceleration is reasonable for a ship this size, albeit not quite as strong as the main engines, and manoeuvrability in a vacuum is okay too. It's not as nimble as some fighters, but is on a par with the medium to heavy fighters. Because the back end is so powerful, at lower speeds the Defender can become more manoeuvrable with some judicious application of afterburner, a little like space drifting. Planet side, the Defender handles just fine. It's easy to fly in atmosphere, and the shape of the body makes it fairly easy to air brake too, which makes for a more forgiving flight model. The combination of those two factors means that flying the Defender in atmosphere versus a vacuum feels quite different, but both mean that an experienced pilot can extract a lot of performance from the ship. Landing the Defender is easy, although the first few landings might be a little more nerve-wracking. Having the cockpit at the rear takes some getting used to, but actually makes a lot of sense, and with a few landings in the logbook quickly becomes the preferred setup. The quantum drive is not the fastest, although for many I think the draw is the interesting green effect. But it's not slow either, and critically the fuel stores are incredible. I was able to cross the Stanton system twice on a single tank. That's really best in class for every ship of this size that I've flown. Part 4. Operating costs. Because of the large fuel stores and the Defender's propensity to drink through hydrogen fuel with the large engines, it can actually get fairly expensive to refuel. But I have to stress that the larger fuel stores mean that you have to refuel less often. So a bigger outlay when you do, but it evens out over time. Moreover, the Defender offers options for running contracts. Firstly, an official second seat means you can do personnel transport missions. And whilst there's no cargo grid for running cargo, there is a decent size of internalised space which is ample for running box delivery missions, as well as some of the other similar contracts such as salvage. And naturally, for a fighter, the Defender is quite comfortable running combat contracts too. Actually, with a beefier shield generator, the combat contracts are really enjoyable, and coupled with the long legs provided by the ample quantum fuel stores, aspiring combat pilots could chain a few of these together before heading back to port. Part 5. The verdict. To start with, this is a very solid fighter. I'd definitely call it a medium rather than a light fighter. There are some little gripes, such as the steps up always being stairs and not a ramp, despite having the ability to fold in, and the cockpit having a strange insectoid glaze from time to time. That said, this is a ship you might happily fly, and I can imagine that it's a really good fit alongside the Banu Merchantman when that's available. The Defender comes in at about $200, or in-game for 2.8 million Alpha UEC. Both are fairly steep asks for this ship. I do really like the Defender, but at that price point I'd be drawn to explore other more economic options, such as the Freelancer or the much lauded Rock Mining Rover, and simply save up to buy the Defender in-game. And even the in-game price is fairly steep, but I can see how it would be an interesting option for somebody who wants to have something a little bit different in their hangar. And to be clear, the performance of the Defender is absolutely solid. If you have a Defender, it'd be interesting to know in the comments what drew you to the ship and whether you agree with the verdict. If you found this review helpful, please press that like button. You may also be interested in my review of the Drake Cutlass. Please also subscribe if you'd like to see future Star Citizen content, and check out the video description for details of my active Star Citizen organisation. Thank you for watching.